Good morning, traders. This is Perry Wilkie with StartupTrading.com. It is 8:56 a.m. Eastern Time. Since Jack won't be on this morning live, I'll go a little bit longer. Uh, so, just looking back at the longer-term chart here from our COVID drop down back up. I know I like to look at this a lot, but uh, what we've had here is this was basically a weekly on it. I'm going to go up here and turn this on to weekly candles for a second so you can see what I'm talking about. So these are weekly candles now, and what we've had on the week, if I turn off the extended session, right? So this is just a bell-to-bell trading now. So under 33.12, the week of September 21st, this is where the trading took place. This is where we come down. We found this little bottom coming out of the high. And it was just a normal retest, testing these high volume nodes and the intersections between them. We come back up, right? We got back down, and then we actually closed close to this line in the sand coming into this week, right? So when I was looking over the weekend, it's like, are we going to go below and trap this candle above us along with these other four, or are we going to stay above and continue to keep this candle trapped? So when we open Sunday, we come up here, right? And we just been migrating higher and away from this candle, and now last week's candle as well, we're above. So we had that little, let's go back to the daily and look. And we'll zoom in here. So basically, we had, this candle engulfed on Tuesday, right? And engulfed all of Mondays. And I thought we were going to end up, coming down here, cracking under 33.12, and then, really turning lower. But that's not indeed what happened, right? So when we started back up on Thursday's session, right, it was just there wasn't a bear to be found in either day, right? So now that we're come up on Wednesday and Thursday, but see how Thursday was just a little bit up here, right? Not much, and just sitting here at the top of this node, right around 34.37. Now, if we turn on extended hours so we can see what's going on now, and even through the extended sessions, you can see that they just continue to inch higher, right? So Monday, if we look at a calendar, is a bank session. The market will be open. So it's usually a light volume, narrow range day. Doesn't mean it will be. And since earnings season starts, the banks report Tuesday morning before the bell, right? The overnight volume tonight has also been light, right? That generally leads to prices going, drifting higher. Excuse me. So now we've got, today could go anywhere, but you can see that it's just going up, right? This is a short squeeze down. We've got all these traders trapped, right? From basically, if we draw this line right at the top, this 33.94 half, right? All these traders over here, they were, there was some short, there's some long. We got this spike up, right? It looks like they're all going on. And I even made the comment, and we don't know. We still don't know, but it's looking unlikely that this is possibly a generational top because of hundreds of points of excess, right? When you get that reversal back down out of that quick flush up. So as we come back across here, now we're above the top of these candles, right? Being above basically 34.24 is a little bit more let's face it, it's a lot more bullish. You've got all these bears from here, and you can guarantee that there were some bears over here as well, right? There was bears here, and then, any of the bears that, held through all this pain, which I would think that would be a small amount, right? They're now thinking that, things are going better for them. So I think that we flushed a lot of people out in both directions is what I'm trying to say. But now you still have the bears, thinking that, especially from Tuesday's candle, that we were really going lower. So it's been nothing but a squeeze coming out of that candle, and I can't emphasize that enough. But looking at the narrow ranges and expecting low volume today, really what we want to see is, where are level fours at now? So I have where it should be just basic support and resistance right around 34.73 quarter, and level 4A is at 77.50. So I would think that right and around there would be the top of today's range. And in the last couple of nights, right, most of the majority in our run for the last two sessions has been in the overnight session. So this blue box, right, these are trades that went off on the stimulus hopium after the bell closed. That's what they entitled it to. So, but basically, we come up on this resistance, right? We couldn't break above 36, 34, 36 quarter. Really, all day we couldn't get any traction above it. Finally broke above it, slightly going into the bell, and then got back above it in the snub nose, right? In that 30 minutes that normally most people don't trade in. That's where you got the spike in these last 30 minutes that, there's very little participation in. If you look at the top of this box, right, we really haven't done too much, even though we're up 20 points. It's just been a fairly narrow range so far in the overnight session. So let's look at all the indexes. And since the NASDAQ was a laggard yesterday, right, it didn't even get up above its bell high of the day. That's what these blue boxes are. It's nothing fancy. It's just a marker I like to put on when trades go off above the bell high of the day in the 45 minutes after the bell rings before the future session closes. So that's the range for those traders. They usually act as support and resistance zones, so I mark them just for that single session that follows. So now as we come back down, you can see we really are not getting under that. It's been support for all of them overnight. So on the bearish side, I don't think that's going to really play out, but you have to be aware of, what would start setting up bearishness, at least for the rest of the session. It's getting back into yesterday's bell range, basically, back below the bell high of the day on any of the indexes is going to what starts it. And we'll watch the value areas, but then you got some support, you got the PLOC, you got the settlements, but all that's going to be probably just a little bit weak and choppy. And remember, I don't think we're going to be able to get much over 73 quarter today. I think that's going to be the lid, just like yesterday, that 36 quarter was a lid, right, for most of the session. That should be your lid above, and we could just do the same thing. We could just keep banging into it, backing off lightly, banging into it, backing off lightly, and just sitting here in narrow ranges. So we'll see if we get up there today, but I wouldn't look for too much above that. Now, until then, we're really just trading between, I think, 62.50 and 45. So that's the range, and that's basically the range for the overnight session. 45 quarter is the low, and 60 is the high. So you got basically 15 points. And if we look at back up here, yeah, 14.75 points is the overnight range. So let's do some chart work. This is really showing some of the different support resistance. I'm going to adjust some of these and change some of them. So I think this is going to be more of a major line coming up now. So I'm going to mark it as such. And I think there's another line in between that's minor. And it's really these consolidation lows that were highs as well. And that's going to come in right around 69.50. 34.69.50. So as we look, and all you're doing is looking on the chart when you draw basic support and resistance lines, is you're looking for where previous support, right, was turned into resistance, and it just keeps flip-flopping. So there's only a little bit of action here. That's why that's a minor line. This is more of a major line, right, because it was resistance, it became support, support, resistance, right? This level has been checked off much more. That's at that 3483 area. So basically, as we come up, the next level above that I'm looking to be kind of sticky would be that 6950. So let's go on and look at the NASDAQ. And then below, we go back down towards 4750 and then 23. Below 23 gets you to, 33.95 basically. Okay. 11,580 is really this area that NASDAQ's getting in. There's really no substantial resistance up until 11,727. But what I would look for is, if this doesn't hold at the NASDAQ, since it has been the weaker link, right, retracing, I would still look at yesterday's swing low or yesterday's bell low right around, and I'll go ahead and throw another level on here. You can see where these highs and these lows line up, and that's all you're looking for when you do this. It's nothing special. So, these, and you can get on your chart and you can adjust it up and down a few points to wherever it suits your eye, but roughly around 11,501. So as we clear, 580, kind of go up, you're just looking to see, does it hold this level? If not, it could potentially come back down to this one and then go up. And there's really, you can see there's really no previous lows in this zone that could really hold it, in my opinion. So I don't use, when you're swinging up, right, I'm not looking for previous highs as much. You can use those as a gauge, but they really shouldn't hold too much on the way up. It's going to be where you've had a swing low, right? That's what you should be running to on the way up. You should be running into swing highs on the way down. Obviously, there were sellers that came into the market at these previous highs, so you can, monitor them, but they're probably not going to be as big of a deal. So let's look at the Dow and the Russell as well, since we got a little bit of extra time today. Might even do some commodities. So as we look at the Dow, right, it's sitting here flirting, and it's holding now 28,385, right? It's got up here, and this is really the key level below was 28,150. I could, change the the colors on this, but there's really nothing substantial above here until you get up to 28,595, and then it's just, and that's not that major of a level either. And then below, you've got 28,041, and then back to 27,921. So I'm going to pull this down a little bit so we can see. So I talked about the Russell, right? Once it got really above 1623.5, there's nothing, substantial for those 50 points basically, all the way up to 1676.90. And then you can see where these nodes are in the profile. You can mark these. So that would be at 16, hitting the bottom of this node where there's potential sellers still there is going to be 1655.60. I'm not going to mark it up. And then this low volume node is going to be at 1668.50. So I haven't looked at gold or crude for quite a while, so let's pull one of those up. And not only have I not looked at it with you, I haven't looked at it myself. So let's see what we've got here. See, as I do this, basically I'm just looking for previous swing lows that became swing highs and vice versa. And the more times that that happens, the more important the level is. And these would just be areas, right? So these are going to be fine lines like, an AGO method like Jack uses on his sequence. This is going to be areas where the market reverses from historically and where, whether it's coming from above or coming from below, right? So don't look at these, well, if it gets down, a penny or two, it lost support or whatever. These, you have to go back and look at the chart and see, how much wiggle room it had when it hit those areas before. So these are just basic, things to be aware of when you get near them. You should look to the left on the chart and see what the standard deviation or the wiggle room was, how much it went up and down, how it responded off those levels, how many times did it respond off those levels. So I usually put like a solid line if it responded off them a lot. So looking at previous lows, right? That's what we want to look at when we come up. So above this level, this 41.52, the last real swing lows that held it, right, was here and there and here, right? So 3 different times when it got to around this 42, 38, 36, right around in there, that's where the market sold from. So basically, and this is just a fib level I've got on here, a neg 100 from a previous draw. They come in, back and forth in vogue. But as you look at it breaking above this level, and you can see that was support, support, resistance, 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 resistance. So as we come up above this 40.90, right? I don't have anything until 41.52. It can, chop in here. You can see it tested below an overnight session. I'll zoom into this, right? You can see the bars below this level, right? And now you pop back above it. So on a minor scale, right, you can go in and you can draw the same thing, right? This was resistance, it turned into support. I'm not going to put this on there, but for a day trading level, 41.15 is going to be right in play as well. That's what it's coming up into. But since you had to look below, right, and you couldn't do anything, it's probably going to inch closer, and it might not be able to get all the way up there this session, but it's trying to get up and test 41.52. So let's look at gold. Like I said, I haven't looked at this in months, so bear with me. So when I see that wiggle room, like how much it's went up or down, when I draw these lines, I try to split it, is basically what I'm doing. When previous support became resistance, and this is probably one of the first things that people learn as they become traders, and they forget really to just keep track of the basics. And you'll notice, I'll show you that, this area would be, I would dot it out because it's not very respectful. It's like a more of above or below bias line, but you can see this was, basically support, basically resistance over here, and you can see that from this line there's, more bodies above it or more bodies below it. There's not in between, and you could almost band this one off, right, for the, to guard yourself or whatever. And you can see that this was, loose support around the same area, and you go up above. But what you're really looking for is just markers that you see that, it's an above or below area of the chart, and, do some type of code for yourself that, it's not like a massive short or buy. But what I was getting to, my point was, noticing this happens all the time, right? This support, right? You had several days that it just was washing back and forth, right? It's trying to decide which side of this it wants to be on. And then after you get up to the next level, right, when it comes back down, it flushes down too. But it respected the line more, later in time then. So, still having that marker gives you that gauge, right? If you're, if you were leaning short from this, downtrend, and you start getting above two of these support resistance lines. And what I always look for on a trend, right? So this is a support resistance line. As you're coming down, right? You break through support, you come back up, you retest it, it's resistance. You break through it, you come back up, you test it, it's resistance. You break through it, you come back down, you come up, you test it, it's resistance. That's who's in charge by which side of the line you keep staying on, right? So now I look for this, when I see reversal patterns just on this, I'm looking to see, now you're coming back down and you're holding support. And we'll see, and when we come back up above, right, do we hold this 1900.5? If we crack above 1927 and we get close to 1946.30, do we hold then 27? That tells you which side of the trend to be on by, which side of the line are you responding off of. The top of it, the bulls are in charge. The bottom of the bears are. Don't make it more complicated than it is, I guess is what I'm saying. So as we, that was just since we had a little extra time, I thought I'd throw in some fun because I don't expect this to be much of a interesting day today or Monday. So I probably won't even be around that much. I'll be more monitoring from my phone. I'm expecting this to be like a light holiday sessions today and Monday. Not to say that, it's not going to go down, it's not going to respond to some technical some points or whatever, but I think the opportunities are low. I think the majority of the move has happened in the overnight. And until you get below this box and back in yesterday's range, which might not happen at all, or unless you really start breaking above this 73 quarter and do something, I'm really not interested in trying to play these little bounces in this range. I don't think you have too much of an edge today. I hope this helps. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Jack will be posting in Discord. If you like this technical analysis, give the video a thumbs up. Since I did a little bit of a basic review on just support and resistance, if you think someone would like to learn how to do that, feel free to form the video. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday. And for those people in the room, I will be giving out the overnight value areas, and they should be tradable today if you want to scalp, above, below the boxes in the points of control for the overnight session. Again, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later.